Lawnmower Detectives gonna bring you down if you're a clown. Lawnmower Detectives gonna take you to jail, post your bail. Lawnmower Detectives, if you abuse the law, you'll be found. Lawnmower Detectives, we don't play by the rules, 'cause those are for fools. Lawnmower Detectives.
Lawnmower Detectives is filmed on location in Podunk County.
This is clearly warranty, but the customer doesn't have to know that. Hey, I found out what's wrong with that pressure washer, and unfortunately, it's not going to be covered under warranty, and it's going to run you like $200.
Oh, really? But the rep said it should be covered under warranty.
Yeah, they always say that, because they want the customer to think that he's not going to have to pay. But when I went to get pre-authorized, they kicked it right back. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thanks for the tip. We'll look into it. Well, there you have it. Another complaint against this Gordy small engine repair, double dipping on warranties.
That's going to be a tough one to prove, Detective. How are we going to catch him?
I'm going to have to go undercover as a typical civilian who owns lawn equipment. You know, those people, they have a certain look to them. All right, Detective. Once I put my shirt on, we'll be ready to go in and catch this scumbag.
We need a secret code word for when it's time for me to bust in.
Testes, testes, 1, 2, 3, testes. How about double dipping?
Ha! I like that. Double dipping. Because, you know, that's what he's doing. He's double dipping.
Oh, hi, sir. How can I help you today?
Hi, I am just a typical citizen who owns lawn equipment, and I have a brand new snowblower outside that has a problem. There's a recall on it, and they told me to bring it to you and that you would cover it under warranty and there would be no charge.
Oh yeah, you know those companies, they'll always tell you it's under warranty, but 10 times out of 10, it ain't.
This guy's a real scumbag.
I'm pretty sure it's under warranty. It's brand new, so it should be covered.
Alright, well, I'll look into it and see, but like I said, 10 times out of 10, it's not going to be covered. But I'll give you a call when it's done, okay?
Okay, sounds good. I just wrapped up transaction with assailant. I'm leaving the premises now.
Who are you talking to, sir?
No one. I gotta go. Pterodactyl here. Today's video is going to be on these two vintage lawn tractors we got in the shop for repair from the late 60s. So what more way to honor these tractors is to dress up like they used to back in the late 60s or in the 60s, 50s, 60s, where the delivery guy would wear these hats and bow ties, you know, the ice cream man, the milkman, the guy at the gas station, you know, these are the type of hats and bow tie they would wear. So I figured I would dress up to fit the era of these mowers. So we have what's here is called the Alice Chalmers B212. And we have this here Simple City 3210V. Now these are the same tractors. They're exactly the same. Simplicity made the tractor for the Alice Chalmers, is what I was told. They both got brakes and scrap them, cast iron engines on them. So what we're going to discuss today is what it costs to take one of these tractors to a shop like mine and have somebody like me do a bunch of work to it. And guess what? You better bring your checkbook and your bank book and any kind of cash you got, because it's not cheap. That's why I'm trying to teach you grass rats how to do this stuff and save money by doing it yourself. But some people don't have the skill or the time, so they decide to bring it to me. So we got this B212 came in early December, and I always explain to the customer on the phone that working on this vintage stuff, especially with my labor rate, I don't know what your labor rate is, but ours is $70 an hour as of 2024. Yours may be more, maybe cheaper, but I said it adds up fast. So I just want you to be aware of that, you know, because when we get into these things, they could snowball out of control, and before you know it, you're in the thousands of dollars to fix this stuff, because it doesn't take long. And again, I'm talking to somebody on the phone. I cannot see their piece of equipment. I have no idea how bad it is or how good it is. Like in the case of this one, this is a well-used tractor. Somebody used the crap out of this thing. Because as we go over it, everything was wore out. And this one, somebody did a lot of work to it. So this one had a different issue. But again, it got to be expensive to repair it. So when we talked to the man on the phone, he showed up with 2 tractors. He wants us to fix another one. The first one being another Simple City. It's a 2020 model, and he wants this stuff done to it. But what we're going to concentrate on is the 69 Alice and what he wants done to this one. And of course, I had wrote some other stuff that he forgot to put on the list that he remembered when he came here. So there's quite a bit of things to do, and then of course you're going to uncover some other things. And there's going to be things missing. And when things are missing, it costs a lot. So one thing he did not put on here, which was the main thing he talked about when he called, was the variable speed drive on it wasn't working. That was the main thing. And then we discussed that, and then he added all this other stuff. So we had done a lot of stuff to it already. We're going to go over what we did, and then there's an issue with it now because we're towards the end of this, and that's the issue that I'm going to fix. So one of the first things, like I discussed, was the variable speed drive on it. So if you're not familiar with this kind of tractor, it's got gears. It's got a 3-speed trans with reverse, and then it's got this variator lever. So you can put it in first gear, and then you can change the speed of first gear by moving this lever. You can put it in second gear, and then you can make second gear go faster, slow. Third gear, same thing. You can make it go faster, slow, or reverse. John Deere had this on their 212s. I don't understand the reason behind it. Why not just put it in gear and go? If you want to slow down or speed up, just slip the clutch by pushing on the clutch pedal and slipping the belt. But I guess this variator thing was an option or an idea that they used to use on a lot of older tractors. Later on, they came up with hydrostat models of these, so you didn't need that gear drive with the variator. So this is the variator here. It's like a snowmobile clutch. You got 2 clutches. It's like a torque converter. The diameters of the pulleys change, which changes the speed. So the one in the back, which is called the secondary, this is the primary, which is the first one, and this is the secondary, which is the second one. And this pulley was all floppy. And it wouldn't shift, it was hanging up. Because there's a bushing in here. You can see part of it right here. And that bushing was wore out. Now, due to the age of this thing, that bushing is not available. It's no longer available. And even if it was available, I'm sure it was expensive. So we had to have one made. And that steel that it's made out of is very hard. So let me find the old one here. What did I do with the old one? So this is the sleeve that was wore out. I don't know if you can tell, but it was pretty wore out on camera. And it's hard. It's very hard steel. So I went and seen Farmer Dan and said, hey, I need this made. They don't make it anymore. And it's for a vintage tractor. Got any ideas? And he said, we'll use what's called a drill guide bushing. And we'll show you a picture of what one of them is. A drill guide bushing. And they have them at McMaster Car and some different machine, places. They have those catalogs where you can get all kind of machine tool parts and stuff like that. So he looked in the catalog and he found one that was this size. The inside and the outside diameter was the same. The only thing is a drill bushing has got a big collar on the top. So he found one that was long enough and he cut it off and remade one of these. So he ended up making us a new one, and that's the one that's on here. So just in case you grass rats out there run into that same problem, you'll be able to make one out of a drill guide bushing. So we fixed that, or I fixed that. Then this idler pulley was wore out. So we just matched up a pulley from our idler pulleys we got. I don't know if there's a number on that one or not that I could get you in case you're looking for one of them. I'll have to look for that and see. I thought maybe I could see it on the other side. And you remember from his list, he wanted all the belts replaced. So we got a new belt. The belt was still available. At least it was from my supplier. I don't know how many they got left. If they're going to make more, if they're still going to be available. But I'll give you the part number for that belt. We were able to get the belt. It's not cheap. It's, depending on where you can find it, it could be as much as $95. It could be as much as $110. All right, so we put the new belt on. We got that variator straightened out. But again, we were having some trouble. Again, I've never worked on one of these. I'm not even familiar with this machine. I don't know if you know this or not, but when I work for my brother Taryl at his shop, he does not work on riding lawnmowers. He only works on commercial equipment and zero turns. So when I worked there, there was no riding mowers. And then when I left his shop and opened mine, he told me ahead of time, he said, hey, you're probably going to have to work on all them cheap box store junk riding mowers, all them Craftsmans and Murrays and all that stuff. And sure enough, so just working on riding mowers thing, I just started working on these in 08. But because I'm a mechanic and I know what I'm doing, you just figure it out. Which is what you do. You just figure it out as you go along. So this, somebody had made this and mounted this where this belt guard goes. So this belt guard was missing. That was gone. This is what they had for the belt guard. And the reason I know what the belt guard looks like is because this tractor, this gentleman called me because he couldn't find anybody to work on it. That's another thing. These customers called around to a bunch of shops, and a lot of shops will not work on this antique stuff. So they searched me out, and I agreed to work on it. So this thing came in 20 days later. This came in. And again, called on the phone, said he had this tractor, it had a problem, said what model it was, and it's not like when he told me what model it was, a light bulb went off in my head and I said, oh, that's the same as that B212. Yeah, bring it on in. I didn't know. He just called and said he had this tractor. I don't know all these numbers and everything of these tractors. All I know is if they come in with a problem, I can fix it. Or I'll figure out how to fix it. So, this one had a problem with the governor. So he brought it in, and when he brought it in, I go, oh, this thing is the same as this one. It's the exact same tractor. So when I started looking at it, I went, okay, this is what that belt guard looks like. That part that's missing. Now, I could have made this out of a piece of flat stock. But again, I got lucky. And I'll tell you how I got lucky. There's a local guy here, Jimmy Lee, friend of mine. We used his truck in one of our old videos, real old video where we recreated the that one movie with Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda. Easy Rider, that's it. So we recreated that movie, Easy Rider, and Jimmy Lee let us use his old pickup truck in it. So Jimmy Lee came in to say hi, just stopped by, and he says, hey, I got a bunch of these tractors that I bought from some guy. I got all kind of attachments, I got decks, I got complete tractors, I got different model tractors, I got all kinds of stuff. So if you need any parts, you know, let me know, I might have it. And I said, hey, you got this belt guard? He goes, probably. Sure enough, he came back, he had the belt guard. So we got lucky there. So we put the belt guard on, and we got this variator adjusted, and we got it straightened out. Now, if we had to do video on all this stuff, it would have been 20 parts it would have been in to do all this. So another thing on that list was tune up the engine, get it running good and stuff, change all the belts. So we had to change this, or I had to change this alternator belt. Now he gave us some parts. He gave us these boxes with belts that he didn't know what they fit. And he gave us this box with a bunch of brackets and stuff in it. But I've also been throwing the parts that I've replaced in here. Like here's the old drive belt. And then some of these belts are for like cars. Here's a serpentine belt. So not all these belts apply. So, in order to put this alternator belt on, because this is a shaft-driven tractor, you have to disconnect the drive shaft or pull the engine. So this isn't an easy job to replace this belt. So there's a couple, 2-3 hours of labor right there to change this belt. Because look, there's not a lot of room in there to change this thing. So we had to change that. Then we went through the whole ignition system. Because here's the old coil. Because he wants this thing to run okay. So, I mean, it worked, but we didn't want to take a chance, so we put a new one on there. And somebody wrote, check, that's a check mark, check someday. Whatever that means. Check it someday and make sure it's good. So we just replaced it. New coil, new set of points, new old stock set of points, new condenser, new spark plug. I made a new wire, a new coil wire I made. New regulator. Again, he wants us to keep this as original as possible. Now, if you notice, this has got battery ignition on it. This engine originally had magneto ignition. The problem with these engines is the magnets on the flywheel get weak. And you can't get the spark out of it. And again, you got to pull the engine to get to the magneto and all that stuff. So it's kind of a pain in the keister. So a lot of guys, and a lot of you grass rats know, they'll convert it to battery ignition, like a crawler. And then we're going to go over to this Simple City and show you whoever owned this did the same thing. Converted it to battery ignition. So there's a couple more things we need to do to this one. The customer wanted done after we got the governor straightened out. And then this one will be ready to go. All right. So we did all that. Had to get that straightened out. We had to do work to the carburetor. The carburetor is still leaking a little bit. I got to go through that again. Then he wanted the deck gone through. And he gave us 2 decks. This deck and that deck. So out of the 2, I made one good one. Because this one is rotted through. Plus, it's all locked up. All the spindles are locked up. Every one of them. But this one had better, all these brackets were better on this one. So we took all that bracketry off of that deck and put them on this deck. And he did have the correct belt for the mower deck. He had a brand new belt for that. So that saved him a little money. So we got that straightened out. Then he had 4 new tires that he bought, and we mounted them on there for him. He just wanted them mounted. Wanted all the fluids changed in the trans and the tiller and the engine. Now we get over here to this, on this side. The deck engagement. This thing. All wore out. Now we're going to show you some pictures of this. This rod here that runs through here also has this guard is welded to it. And from rubbing, see how it rubs? See how when you engage it and disengage it? This rod was all wore down, almost wore through. We're going to show you pictures of that. This bracket that this rod goes through, these holes were all elongated. Now I could have went to Jimmy Lee and said, hey, you got that bracket? You got this thing? But chances are the ones he had were probably wore out too. So what I did is I welded them up. I welded up the rod. I welded up these holes and fixed it. I just fixed the old bracket by welding it up. This part under here, this idler pulley, this pulley here, this bracket, that mounts on a bracket under here. We're going to show you a picture of that. That was all wore out and flopping around. And there's a little snap ring and a spacer on there. We're going to show you a picture of that. And I think there was supposed to be a spacer in there because there's a E-clip, and then there was a gap of about 1/4 of an inch. So I put a shim in there, a washer, to take up that slack, and that tightened all this up so this thing would engage right. Because this thing was flopping all around on there. New belt for that. This belt's new. And then a new belt for the tiller. And then that's going to bring us to what we've got going on right now. Now, when I disengage this tiller attachment, the tiller keeps spinning. So there's got to be something missing. And that thing has to be some kind of belt guard or something that would hold the belt in this position so when you disengage it, it doesn't drag. So we're going to start it up and I'm going to show you what it's doing. Now you can see there's a tab, piece of a tab here. So that tells me there was some kind of guard. And then this thing was on here, down here somewhere. And I don't think this is for this tractor because it doesn't line up with anything. And it's kind of a weak belt guard. So I took it off. So again, because we got this other tractor here, I was able to look at this one. See, I got lucky. And I go, oh, look, there is a guard. There's a guard that went over this. So from vibration, it probably broke off. That's why there's that little tab. Because think about it, you're sitting on this tractor and you got this down, you got to have some kind of guard so when you stick your hands under here, they don't come into contact with that pulley. Because it's right here where these releases are. So I got a hold of Jimmy Lee and he said, come on by and look and see what I got. Maybe I got that cover you're looking for. And of course, when I went over there, he didn't have it. On all the tractor and all the parts he had, he did not have this. So again, what do you do in that case? You got to make a new one. You got to make it. You got to make the part or try to scour the internet and find it. Well, if this is your hobby, yeah, you got time to do that. I ain't got time to do that. I'll look a little bit and see if I might be able to find it on Fleabay or somewhere. I didn't have any luck. Plus, we've got this extra pulley here. So that guard over there covers this and part of this. So if you reach under there, you're not going to get your hand caught in there. But I did find some other stuff that he had over there, Jimmy Lee, that's going to work. Now I know this is the correct belt because I looked up this tractor. I was able to find information on it, and I was able to find the size of the belt. So I know that this diameter of this pulley is correct because the tractor at Jimmy Lee's had a smaller diameter pulley on here. So it must have been for a different attachment. Now if it had a smaller diameter pulley, this belt would be way too long and it wouldn't engage. So I know this is the correct size because I found that size of that belt and it said it was 5/8 by 96. Alright, so let me move my prop forward here a little bit. This is how you engage that tiller. You're on the seat, you reach back here, you grab this. It pulls up on that idler. It's got a spring in here. Just like for the mower deck, it works the same way. It's got that bracket. You can adjust this for the amount of tension you want to put on that belt by sliding this collar up on this rod. So that's how you engage it. And if you come over here, you see the belt's good and tight. And then you disengage it, but yet it's still grabbing and the tiller is spinning. Oh, some other stuff we did to this I forgot to mention. It didn't have the right fuel shutoff. Now I don't like this, but this is original. Under here is where you turn the petcock on. You reach under here and you can open it and close, and this is how you turn the fuel on and off. So we had to fix all that. We ran all new fuel line. We had to put a new petcock in there. It had some other kind of janky petcock in there. This throttle was broke. This is a problem with these throttles. It's got that locking throttle where you turn it, you pull it, and then you can lock it at whatever speed you want. So the problem with these is the knob will start to spin on this shaft. Now I probably could have drilled a little tiny hole in there and put a cotter pin in there, but I looked in my catalogs and lo and behold, Stens and Rotary make this cable. Now it was a little bit longer, I just had to cut it off. So if you've got a vintage tractor that's got one of these throttles on it, I know they use them on wheel horses, Taryl wheel horse. So we're going to get you that part number right here. Because this one needs one too. We've got to put one on this tractor. So come here and I'll show you what I mean. So you're supposed to lock this thing as you, and see what's happening. If you look real close right there, the knob is spinning on the shaft. So you can't lock and unlock it. So what happens is if you're running it on high speed, you can see it's already pulling itself in by itself. It'll just slowly vibrate back down to idle. So then you're going to have to sit there and hold it. So Rotary and Stens both make this cable. It's plastic coated instead of just being, you know, open conduit on it. Here's the Rotary number. You don't use the 03, it's 9135. The Stens number is 290-130. And if you notice on this cable, it's got a hex on it. It uses a hex design. So that knob isn't going to spin like this one. So it's actually better. So, you want to know how to shorten this thing? Very simple. Figure out your length. Figure out where you want to cut it. Say you want to cut it right here. Take a pair of cutters. Cut that Z bend off the end. Pull the cable out. Cut it. Shove the cable back in. Then you'll have to trim it, and then you'll have to bend that Z bend on there. Now, we sell a tool called the Z bender. And you can buy it in our online store, and it'll bend that Z on there for you. It's a really nifty tool. You want to see it? You want to see it, grass rats? I know a lot of you grass rats out there already have one. But for the ones out there that don't, I'm going to show you the Z bender. Okay, let's start this tractor up and let me show you what's going on with it. Now again, I told you the carburetor is weeping just a little bit, so I have to keep turning the gas on and off until I get that fixed. Got our throttle, here's our choke. I don't even think that's the right pulley. Should have a wrench over here. All right. So this isn't the right pulley. For one thing, it looks like it's too big in diameter. Because look at how it's pushing the belt on top of the pulley. I mean, it wouldn't hurt anything because as it's spinning, you know, the belt's going in the right direction. But there's no standoff. You know, this is flat. So there is either a spacer missing or this isn't the right pulley. And again, I think it's not the right pulley. Now you notice when I held the wrenches there, you know, I kind of held the belt in that position. So I went over to Jimmy Lee's and he didn't have that belt cover. And I looked at those tractors he had, and one of them did have another pulley, like this, but it was smaller in diameter, and it had this on it, this bracket. So I ended up buying this off of them. And see, this is this part here that belt guard would have bolted to. So I bought this off of them. The only problem is this part here is made for that other pulley, which is smaller, which was probably for a different attachment. Maybe, I'm thinking, I don't know. Because you got to remember, when you start changing these pulley diameters, that's going to change the speed of whatever you're driving off the back. So I could always go and get that pulley if I have to. But again, when I looked up this attachment, it said it takes a 96-inch belt. So if I went with a smaller diameter pulley like on that other one, that's going to change the diameter, the length of this belt. So this 96-inch belt wouldn't work. But I think if I just stick this thing, in here like this, bolt it up, this belt will be under here like that. And that'll help some of our problem. Then I may just have to maybe just put a long bolt in here, off of here, coming out of here. But that's not going to fix our problem with, you know, in case the guy sticks his hand down here, we don't want his hand to get caught in this pulley if it's spinning. And he didn't have that belt cover, that protective cover, which is like on that Alice Chalmers. But he did have one of these. This is that belt guard here for the variator. So I ended up buying this off of him. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that and stick that over here. And all I got to do is drill a hole. And then I found me another piece of flat stock in my scrap, which is about the same thickness. So instead of going underneath like this one, I'm going to go on top. Because if I go underneath, it's too close to everything else here. It'll work better on top. See? We just want to keep the customer's hand out of there. So I'll scooch it over this way, and then I'll take this piece here and I'll weld it to this. And I'll bend it. I'll bend this a little bit. I'll bend it down a little. I may have to trim it off too, because it doesn't have to be that long. Just enough to go back behind this cover a little bit. So say probably up to there. So, you know, you got to figure out ways of working around stuff. I wish I had the cover to keep it original, but this will be good enough. So let's take this off and get this mounted, and then we'll go from there. So I have this little rotary idler pulley. I've got a few of these in stock. And there's the rotary number 718. It's 2 inches in diameter, and it's 3/4 of an inch wide. And you see it's got a little standoff on it, see? The other side's flat, but this side, when you set it on something flat, you know it's going to spin. So I found this. Where was the bolt? I guess this is the bolt. Yeah. And this is going to work perfect because it's small enough to where it's still going to hold the belt down away from this belt guard. So the diameter of this pulley really doesn't matter that much, because you get the same effect no matter where you put it. It's going to push it down. But 2-inch diameter seems to be right. If you find one that's, say, 2.5, I'm sure it'll work okay. Because again, not everything is available for this old machine. But, you know, these are well-made machines, and, you know, if you got all the attachments, yeah, you're going to put the money into it. Because what are you going to buy today that's modern? You're going to spend way more, you know, with attachments and stuff. Like if you bought a John Deere of this kind of quality, say a new John Deere, the equivalent of this quality, you're going to probably spend between $10,000 and $14,000 with all the attachments. Brand new. So that's why it's good to, you know, sink the money into this old stuff. It's money well spent. Alright, so we got that on there. So here I got a bolt. It's a 3/8 bolt with a nut on it. And let's see how this works. Maybe this will work, because it seems to be right in the right spot for the belt. We're going to find out when I put tension on it. Alright, let me move this forward again. Okay, so it's tight. Now we're clearing on the bottom here. It's clearing this bracket, this U bracket. We don't want the belt to rub, so it's clearing there, but it is hitting here. Now the belt's tight, and it's still hitting. So you know what that's going to do? Because this doesn't spin, it's going to create friction. And I'm not going to put a spacer on there that it can roll on. So this isn't going to work. I mean, it would probably work for a while, but eventually it's probably gonna wear the belt out. Now, another thing I do when I scrap lawnmowers around here is I've got a whole section or container full of belt guides and guards and stuff that we take off of tractors when we scrap them. So I'm going to dig through there and try to find me something I can make work. So this is what I'm talking about. This bin here is just full of belt guards and guides. That's why you got to save this stuff. Grass rats. So when we strip tractors, take them to scrap, there's certain little doodads and stuff that we take off and save. And this is one of them. Belt guides. All different ones from all different tractors. I'll dig through there and I'll find me something. Okay, so I found one, but it had this in there. So I went like a big Z. This was here, and this end was on the end. I just took this section out and shortened it up. So now I can clock this and then tighten it down so I can move it where I want. So let me put some tension on the belt again. We engage it. I can put this in there. And I got one of these flange nuts that's serrated, so it'll lock it real good and tight. Guten tight, as my German friends always say. Hello everybody over there in Germany. Hi everybody. So see, I can turn this now to where I want. We don't want it to touch, but we just want it to be above it. So there we go, about right there. And I'll tighten it down. Just above it. Now when I release it, it's kind of holding it. Now, let's see if this works. All right, let's start this thing up again. That's great. All right. So now all I gotta do is make this. Weld that on there, put a little bend in it. Should be able to stick this in the vise, smack it with a sledge. I should be able to put some bend in there. This I'll keep. Now I'll throw this and this in my little belt guard thing. And then I got this piece of flat stock that was left over from the stuff I got from Jimmy Lee. So I gotta make that. Oh yeah, I wanna give a shout out to Krispy Kreme. That's the guy who, Krispy Kreme, no, Crispy Critter. He probably eats Krispy Kremes. He likes Krispy Kreme donuts probably. Probably, I don't know. Crispy Critter, that's a Taryl fan that sent me this hat and a bunch of other of these vintage hats and these bow ties. Sent me a couple of bow ties. He sent Slippers and Junior some stuff and some patches. He even sent a couple of patches to Doc Neon that I gotta give to Doc. You like my vintage hat and my bow tie? They came from Crispy Critter and I call them Krispy Kreme. Yeah. Alright, so I want to put a little bit of a bend in it right around here. That looks good right about there. Got me a 4-pound sledge. I'll line that up a little bit. And we'll probably bend it again, maybe right about here. some more. There's your dinner. Like I said, I may have to cut this off anyway. I'll go in there and check it. Let me bend this a little bit more right here on this other mark. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's dang near perfect. So I'll grind a radius on both sides. Nice bevel. So that way when I weld it, I'll fill in that radius or that chamfer with weld, because that's what you do when you butt weld stuff, for you that don't know. And like I said, I may have to trim this off a little bit. And I just got to drill a hole. Come on. Come on. All right, let's see. Yeah. So I'll just go below my second mark that I made. So I'll just cut it like maybe a ½ inch below this mark. I'll cut that off. That way it'll be a ½ inch underneath this. And then I'll weld it on there. Hit it with a little black spray paint. Then I'll line it up. Figure out exactly where I want it. Probably right here. Keep it kind of close to the edge of that, so that way maybe even weld a piece of steel. Maybe I'll even weld a piece of plate on here, on the outside of this, just to give it a little extra. Because you know, if you still get your hand under there, you might be able to catch that. I'll just weld a little something on the outside. And then I'll mark my hole and drill it. Put a carriage bolt in there. And you know, there's your dinner. Oh, hey there, grass rats. Have you subscribed to Lawn and Garden Tractor Magazine? You haven't? Then what are you waiting for? If you're into these vintage tractors, you need to get this magazine. It's specially made for you grass rats into these vintage mowers. All kind of interesting stories and neat tractors that people have restored and ideas. All kinds of stuff. Oh look, even this goofy guy's in there. Information, places to get parts. They even got a section on news from across the pond. So our friends over there in Europe, in England, the UK, check out the mowers they got. They cut grass there too. They cut grass all over the world. I got one of them, a Mercatronic tester. So, get yourself a subscription to Lawn and Garden Tractor Magazine. Go to their website. Subscribe. You won't be sorry. If you don't, you're going to be sorry. So, grass rats, did you notice that this says diesel on it? And a lot of y'all that looked at that when I pulled the hood off went and said, "There ain't no diesel, Taryl. There ain't no diesel. Diesel ain't got a spark plug." And then for those of you that don't know, this isn't a diesel. But the gentleman that purchased this from the gentleman who restored it had put that on there. Now the guy that owns it's going to take that off. He wants to take that off of there because it's not a diesel. They were probably just going for that look. You know, trying to make it look like it was Vintage International or what. I don't know what they're thinking. But he's got nice tires on. He's got those rib tires and those ATV tires in the back. Let me tell you something. These things grip. I got a set of ATV tires on that Arians out there. Snowzilla, we call her. And I put weights on it, and I put a set of these AV tires on it. And let me tell you, it's hard to get her stuck in the snow. She got a lot of gription. Well, here it is. Here's my belt guard that I made out of the existing piece and just added to it. So let's test fit it. Now it'll work either way. I can put it underneath or I can put it on top. I like it on top because it kind of forks it in there and I don't have to worry about it turning on me. The only problem is it's just a little difficult if you want to take it on and off to change this belt. And you don't like it, well, you can put it underneath so the nut comes through the top. Now it's far enough away where it's not going to hit the belt, that carriage bolt. I don't need that lock washer. If anything, I'll put one of those serrated flange nuts on there because I got to take it back off to paint it. So it's clear. It's not far enough away from there. That's disengaged because this is how you engage the mower deck. Because there's a jack shaft on here. I don't know if I explained that. So there's a shaft with a pulley on the other side. So you have this transmission pulley which is spinning all the time. And then when you tighten this little belt, that engages that. Alright, so let's try it again. So you could cut grass and till at the same time with this beast, and this thing is a beast. Look at it. I understand why some people like to collect these things, especially this model. This is a beast. So yeah, shut off the deck. The blades came to a stop. Shut off the tiller, come to a stop. Just gotta paint that. It almost looks factory, huh? I don't think anybody would be able to tell the difference unless they were, a real Alice Chalmers aficionado. But yeah, a lot of work goes into these, especially if you got to pay somebody. If you're doing it yourself as a hobby, well, you're only in it for the parts and, whatever materials you had to spend or machine work or whatever you'd have to have done to it. But if you got to pay somebody like me or a shop, again, get that wallet out, get that bank book out, get whatever you got out. Got a classic car you want to trade for repairs? I'll trade you if it's a cool car. So this one here, we're almost done with it, or I'm almost done. I don't know why I keep saying we, because I don't have a mouse in my pocket. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I got Fluffy. Fluffy's in my pocket. That's what I meant, me and Fluffy. Almost done. Just gotta button it up, test it, make sure everything's good. Right now, where it stands, I still gotta add some more labor for all this other work that I'm doing to get that belt thing going and making that belt guard and those other parts I had to buy from Jimmy Lee. It's probably gonna end up being right around $1,500 to do all that. Now some of you may, $1,500? Wow, you're ripping a guy off. And other people may say, well, $1,500, that's really not too bad. Again, if you had to buy something of this quality today, you're gonna spend thousands of dollars, especially for the attachments. Now Jimmy Lee has got a bunch of attachments for these. So he wants to sell all that stuff. One thing he's got, which I know these guys are probably going to be interested in, at least one of them, is he's got the original light bar kit where you can add the lights to it. He's got that on one of them tractors. And I'm pretty sure one of these guys are going to want to buy it. So, there you have it. Takes a lot to fix up these old tractors. That's why me, Taryl, am trying to teach you, the grass rat, how to do it yourself and save some money. Do it yourself. I'm giving away the secrets. I'm giving all the secrets away. But, again, some people don't have the time or they don't have the skill level and they would rather just pay somebody. That's fine. They got the money. Hey, I'll take their money. So, follow me with your antique tractors on Facebook and Instagram. Check out our web store. We got all kinds of stuff. We don't have this hat, but we do have this shirt. This is called the Grass Rat Fink shirt. Get it? Grass Rat Fink shirt. And there's Fluffy. There's my buddy Fluffy. Makes me a lot of money. Spark plug necklace. We got all kinds of stuff. Check it out. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! There's your dinner right there. Antique tractors. Fixing them up. Costing money. Everything costs money. Nothing's free.
Just ran that warranty through. Another double dipper.
Okay, I've entered the premises. Hi!
Oh, hey, man.
I'm just your typical civilian, here to pick up their snowblower.
Just finished that up right now. Unfortunately, it wasn't under warranty.
What? That's bullcrap! That thing is brand new!
I know, man. I fought with those guys all morning, grappling with them like I was cage fighting. But they wouldn't budge. They didn't want to help out, so I gotta charge you. I really tried, I really did.
Oh, geez! I guess I have no choice. I'll have to pay out of pocket. What are the damages?
Came to 200 even. Is that gonna be cash or card?
What? That's bullcrap!
That was a big job swapping that cable out. It looks pretty easy, but it's pretty involved. You're popping on them little prongy things, trying to push it out. I was really struggling.
Oh, okay. Here's the cash. Oh, gotcha, scumbag. Looks like we caught you double dipping. I said double dipping. Double dipping? Detective, where are you?
Oh, crap. Time to go in.
Hey, if you let me go, I'll split some of that warranty money with you. 20/80.
I get the 80, you get the 20?
No, I was thinking I get the 80, you get the 20.
No deal.